but they're using the
Yeah.
STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's a way of talking about something that you've done. And so you describe the situation briefly, you
Mm,
say what your task was, what the action you took was, what the result. Now, you
yeah.
could do that in probably under a minute, describing lots of different things. But either way, it's not a long story. It's being articulate about this. Um, in terms of from the employer's side, many employers won't even acknowledge that they've received your application or your resume. They're not giving a progress report on where they're at. They are overwhelmed with resumes. They don't take the time to reply,
Right.
or they might reply with a generic, we received your application.
Right.
But basically, hiring is often delayed. Sometimes they're just seeing who's out there and who they can hire and what's a big, what their pool of applicants is going to look like. From the applicant side, what that means is that you have to think strategically. So sending out 10 targeted applications or cover letters or resumes could be more fruitful than sending a mass of 50 applications that get them nowhere. So
Mm,
on the other hand, I've had clients who have said, but I sent one application and
mm,
I'm going to wait till they reply to me before I go on to the next one.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we've all seen kids who've said, I sent 100 applications and resumes and no one replied to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and both of those things are true, but so that's the reason it has to be strategic. The other thing that's different now is that in the former days, people could just walk in off the street and fill out an application. Um, and either they got an interview or they were told to come back. And
That's how I got my first job at
yes,
Cold Stones.
most of us got our first
Yeah.
jobs that way. Actually, I think I did a summer job that my father knew a printer who needed some help, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was there. But I've also filled out applications for jobs, and we want them to have the skills so that they can be nimble
Mm-hmm.
eventually. I want them to know that here's the steps you take when you're 40 and unhappy in your job, or when you're 40 and want to change careers, or whatever's going on, it's still the same basic skill set. Um, so that's one of the things. And then the other thing that is a big change is that employers are asking more behavioral interview types of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about a time when fill in the blank. You were asked to do, for example, you were asked to do something you had never done before. Or tell me about a time when you worked on a team, but you were the only team member who did anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell me about a time when the team took a turn that you didn't really approve of. How did you handle that? Or the more generic, tell me about a time you failed. So those are the kinds of questions. They're not really trick questions. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for information about how you deal with life and how you solve problems. And those are the kinds of questions that you can prepare for. You can prepare for those interview kinds of questions before you ever do an informational interview, ask anyone about their job or apply for a job. Those are all things that we can practice.
I love
Um,
what I love that because it's like, there's a lot of research now and employees this day are looking much more at character traits, right? And so someone can
yeah,
have the straight A's, the look good, and but they don't have all these soft skills that are needed to
right.
work in a team, in leadership, in creativity. And so when you were talking about people, our young adults or this generation finding their interest through exploration, that is how this happens. So I love that. And Diane, does your team help people like in the parent and help navigate the parents and the roles that they play? So sort of like what is and in building the resume, what does that look like?
A good question. I actually will often start working with the client who is the young adult with an introduction, a brief 20-minute conversation. And I will talk about how I work, which
Mhm,
is basically with that client.
mhm,
So I do a couple of different things. One is we can do career exploration, which is really the research end, but and I do that right with the client.
Mhm.
If I'm working with an 18-year-old or a 28-year-old, I'm not talking with their parents. I'm not a
Right.
therapist. If I see something going awry or I feel like a client is major depressed or
Mhm.
struggling with something that is needs a therapeutic approach, I'm pretty emotionally attuned, but I am not a therapist.
Right.
So I might say,
Likewise.
I might say, this would be a good thing to talk about with your parents, or we could have a joint call if you want. But one of the things about developing independence is not having the parents by their sides.
Mhm.
Although I worked with someone who I worked with this young man for, we probably did 4 or 5 sessions. And it was only at the end of the time that I realized in the background, not visible, his mother.
Boy, how
So
disempowering.
it was challenging. And finally I perceived that someone was there and I said, um, have you talked with your parents about this? So my role, I don't copy parents on my messages. I
Mhm.
if a client had paid and wasn't showing up, that's a different story. There's a
Mhm.
reason for that.
Mhm.
So that I deal with, but this is really your your it's not college counseling where parents do want to be involved, and in some cases it's important that they are. In other cases it's important that they aren't. But in
Mhm.
terms of the
Mhm.
career guidance, I'll show them a list of conversational starters. I'll show them how to write their elevator pitches. Now they might want to run those by their parents, and they certainly want to talk to their parents about doing their practice informational interviews. But I'll give them the tools first, and then they can talk to their parents
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
say, okay, my career counselor says I need to interview 5 people about their jobs. Here's what I'm going to ask them. Who do you think I should talk to, mom or dad?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I might have them practice on mom or dad,
Yeah.
but I'll be the guiding force there. Because the conversation starters and the practice role playing and being able to describe things, it works better with an objective person. Um,
Mhm.
I care about my clients, but I'm not going to be constantly thinking of things for them that
It's
I
different.
think
Yeah.
would, it's just different. It's
Yeah.
just different.
It's just different.
Um, so talk to your neighbors about their jobs. You can have your kids look at YouTube videos, a day in the life of. There's a video for practically every job
Yeah.
out there, I'm pretty sure. Um, there's a couple of resources which I think are really good. Um, ONET online is the government website, Bureau of Labor and Statistics. There's also something called My Next Move, which is also
Mhm.
run by the government bureau, and I can put those in the chat or I can send them to you. Um,
Yeah.
and the Clifton Strengths Finder is also a good one. So your role is, like I said, multifaceted. You want to confirm that your child has practiced and is able to introduce themselves briefly in an email or a phone or in person. That they can articulately express who recommended that they reach out to that person, whether it's for an application or um, whether they saw it on Indeed, or my dad said I should talk to so and so,
Mhm.
so that they can do all that. That's how you're going to get this healthy balance, because we know there is a healthy balance. It's different for every family,
Right.
really. So sometimes someone like me can get information that you might not even be aware is important. We want a healthy balance, which usually involves open communication, encouraging self-discovery and personal exploration, some real-world experiences, the somehow creating this independent decision-making scenarios, goal setting, and flexibility, and the recognition that interests change, job
Mhm.
markets change,
Mhm.
and life goes on.
Mhm.
And self-awareness and confidence will go a long way
Yes.
to enjoying the world of work and life. So
I love
that
that. I was just going to ask you, like,
I
what
think
skills do young adults need? Yeah, but you covered it. So thank you so much. Um, and it's hard, right? And like what my husband and I talk about what work like looks like today, what the world looks like today will look so different when our baby is 10 years old, right? And
but your
20s.
baby is still going to need to be aware of her skills. She's still going to need to manage her time and be emotionally regulated and manage stress because she'll make better decisions. She'll be able to problem solve, open to new experiences. Those are the core life skills. Of
Yeah.
course, budgeting and saving and managing debt is going to be in their means a big one. And
Boy,
then
adulting
there's
is
a
hard.
whole set of work skills.
Yes, exactly.
But
Yeah.
the core life skills are what your role is at this point. Honestly, those
Yeah.
parenting skills and those different roles are, there's a lot of different work skills, whether it's critical thinking or collaborating or digital literacy, leadership. Doesn't always mean you're president of an organization. Sometimes it means you just take responsibility for things
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
quiet
I
leader.
love this role that you're playing because we know, right? Like kids hear it differently when it comes from a third party source. They just intake it
They
differently. And
do. They
especially with our
do.
neurodivergent kids that they struggle with open-ended questions, articulating themselves,
Right.
knowing how to succinctly or to summarize things, or even think about their character traits, right? What are their
Right.
strengths? A lot of them have a really hard time with that. And so, how we collaborate with Diane is, when our students are kind of in that, they're kind of floundering, or they are in school, but it's really hard for them to find a major. Again, we are not the experts in that. We teach students how to be successful in school and manage their life outside of school. However, in terms of finding their career paths, their interests, all of this is where we refer to Diane so that she can help them find what to do with in life. And then that's how and then the kids come, we're working in conjunction with her.
And
But
it
yes,
works
so
for I really, I take my clients where they are at a given time. So if it's
mhm,
exploration, fine, we do the exploration. If it's the tools and techniques and how to practice, because even the most outstanding students that have checked all the boxes, they're not always able to jump into this new world here.
yeah,
So I'm referring,
oftentimes,
I'm
yeah,
not a fan of quote failure to launch. I believe these are emerging young adults.
they are, yeah, and they need
And
help, which is where you come in,
we're
right? They're
we're going to
each,
help them balance their
I love that.
interests and skills.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience before we
I think I've I think I've shared a lot of different things. I'm happy to answer questions. How Jenny, do you want me to give you my website if you have any questions,
yeah,
obviously, is Diane Geller, DianeGeller.com. You can reach out. I have some resources on my website. I have descriptions about my um, how I work, and I'm also happy to talk to people about how I work if they want to make sure I'm a good match for their young adult or not. But I do am happy to be available.
thank you so much. And we'll put your contact information in our notes and in our comments. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, please make sure you schedule a call with her. Dan's been great. She's been a source of support and has really helped to relieve some of the pressure and anxiety our students face. So thank you. All
Thanks, Jenny.
right. Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
week.
You too. Bye.